Across the vast and varied landscape of the United States, a nation often characterized by its dynamic growth and perpetual motion, a fascinating and somewhat counterintuitive demographic phenomenon is quietly unfolding. While bustling metropolises continue to swell and certain regions experience unprecedented population booms, a significant portion of the country's geographic area is, in fact, remarkably sparsely populated, and in some states, the trend is one of distinct and persistent decline. It appears that the allure of wide-open spaces, close-knit communities, and a lower cost of living in certain areas is simply not enough to counteract powerful economic headwinds, challenging environmental conditions, and shifting societal preferences. As industries transform, climates pose increasingly harsh tests, and younger generations seek opportunities concentrated in different locales. Several states are witnessing a steady, and in some cases, accelerating exodus of their residents. This internal migration pattern is reshaping the demographic map of the U.S., presenting unique challenges to the states losing population, impacting everything from their tax bases and political representation to the vitality of their communities and the provision of essential services. We look closer now at the data and the driving forces behind this trend, counting down 10 states that have seen notable population losses in recent years, examining the complex interplay of factors compelling residents to pack their bags and seek futures elsewhere. North Dakota's identity is often tied to its expansive, seemingly endless open plains, dramatic prairie skies, and the quiet charm of its small towns, offering a distinct sense of place rooted in agriculture, and more recently, energy production. Despite possessing significant natural resource wealth, particularly vast reserves unlocked by hydraulic fracturing technology, and experiencing a notable economic boom earlier in the 21st century fueled by the oil industry, the state is struggling to retain its residents, especially younger workers and families who initially arrived seeking opportunity. Data from the U.S. Census Bureau paints a clear picture, indicating that North Dakota experienced a net loss of over 4,000 residents in 2023 alone, a figure representing a continuation of demographic challenges that began to surface as the pace of the oil boom moderated. One of the most frequently cited and undeniable reasons for this population drain is the state's famously extreme climate. North Dakota endures brutally harsh and prolonged winters, where temperatures routinely plummet to punishing lows, often dropping well below 0 degrees Fahrenheit and frequently reaching -40 degrees or even colder with wind chill factors. These frigid conditions are compounded by intense blizzards that can paralyze transportation and make daily life, including commuting, attending school, and even running errands, incredibly challenging and sometimes hazardous. For individuals and families not accustomed to or prepared for such severe weather, the prospect of enduring these conditions year after year can significantly diminish the appeal of living in the state, making relocation to a milder climate a highly desirable alternative. The state's economy, while still benefiting significantly from oil and gas extraction and associated industries, has seen a slowdown compared to the frenetic pace of its boom. Years. Global energy price fluctuations introduce volatility, and advancements in automation within the oil fields mean that extracting the same amount of resources often requires fewer workers than before. Many individuals, particularly those who migrated to the state specifically for high-paying, labor-intensive jobs in the oil patch, have begun leaving as the demand for their specific skills decreases and the stability of the market becomes less certain. Furthermore, outside of the energy and agricultural sectors, North Dakota's economy offers a more limited range of opportunities. The landscape for high-paying jobs in rapidly growing fields like technology, advanced manufacturing, or a diverse professional services sector is not as robust as in larger metropolitan areas or more diversified state economies. This lack of diverse economic opportunity makes it challenging for young professionals and college graduates, particularly those not directly tied to the state's traditional industries, to envision long-term career growth and stability, prompting them to seek more varied job markets elsewhere across the country. Access to healthcare is another growing issue contributing to the population challenges, particularly impacting rural communities that constitute much of the state. The closure of rural hospitals and clinics, often due to financial pressures or difficulty attracting medical professionals, has left many residents with significantly limited access to essential medical services. This can necessitate driving for hours across vast distances, often in challenging weather conditions, to reach facilities equipped to provide even basic or routine healthcare needs. The lack of accessible and comprehensive medical infrastructure is a serious concern, particularly for aging residents or families with young children, and it represents yet another tangible reason why individuals are making the difficult decision to pack up their lives and head out of this sparsely populated state. Even though North Dakota is often highlighted for its relatively low cost of living compared to national averages, this financial advantage appears insufficient to outweigh the combined challenges posed by the harsh climate, the less dynamic and diversified job market compared to other states, and the limitations in healthcare accessibility. The cumulative effect of these factors clearly illustrates why many individuals are choosing to leave North Dakota, contributing to its ongoing population decline, despite its natural resource wealth and the persistent efforts of some communities to attract and retain residents. West Virginia, historically known as the heart of America's coal industry and characterized by its rugged Appalachian terrain and rich cultural heritage, is now confronting a profoundly difficult economic and demographic transition, making it one of the states experiencing the most significant population decline in the nation. What were once thriving mining towns, bustling with economic activity and community life, have in many cases become shells of their former selves, their populations shrinking as the industry that supported them wanes, leaving communities struggling immensely to survive and redefine their futures. According to detailed data from the U.S. Census Bureau, West Virginia's population shrank by a notable figure, losing over 18,000 residents between 2022 and 2023, a continuation of a persistent downward trend observed over the past decade. Joby. Loss stands out as one of the single biggest and most impactful factors driving this significant exodus. Coal mining, which served as the foundational backbone of West Virginia's economy for generations, providing employment and economic stability to countless families and communities, has been in steady and significant decline for decades. This decline is a result of a complex interplay of factors, including increased automation in mining operations that reduces the need for manual labor, competition from other energy sources like natural gas and renewable energy, and shifting environmental policies aimed at reducing carbon emissions. Without substantial investment in new, diversified industries to effectively replace these lost jobs and provide alternative employment pathways, many residents, particularly those in traditional coal-producing regions, are finding themselves with limited options and are effectively forced to move elsewhere in search of work and economic opportunity. West Virginia also unfortunately ranks among the poorest states in the country, grappling with significant levels of poverty. Census data indicates a poverty rate of 16.6%, significantly higher than the national average. This economic reality means that many families across the state struggle considerably to make ends meet, facing daily challenges related to income, housing, and access to basic necessities. For younger generations growing up in this environment, there is often a pervasive perception of limited opportunity and little economic incentive to remain in the state after completing their education. Furthermore, wage levels in West Virginia are frequently lower compared to neighboring states and national averages, even for similar types of work. This wage disparity makes relocation to areas with stronger economies and more competitive salaries an increasingly appealing and often necessary option for many residents seeking improved financial prospects and a higher standard of living. Education represents another critical issue that acts as a driver for people leaving West Virginia. The state consistently ranks among the lowest in the nation for various measures of public school quality, including test scores, graduation rates, and resource availability. Furthermore, opportunities for higher education within the state, while present, may not be perceived as offering the same range of programs or level of prestige as institutions elsewhere. This reality pushes many families with school-aged children to seek better schooling options in other states, believing it is essential for their children's future success. Without a strong, well-funded educational foundation and clear pathways to advanced learning and skilled employment within the state, West Virginia faces a significant and uphill battle in retaining its younger population, who are crucial for its future workforce and community vitality. Healthcare accessibility is yet another major and worsening concern for West Virginia residents. Mirroring trends in many rural areas across the country, numerous rural hospitals and healthcare facilities in the state have been forced to shut down or significantly reduce services, often due to chronic underfunding, declining patient numbers in aging communities, or difficulty attracting medical professionals to underserved areas. This leaves many residents in remote areas facing the prospect of traveling long distances, sometimes hours, to receive necessary medical care, including routine checkups, specialist consultations, or emergency treatment. As essential services, like healthcare, continue to disappear from local communities, the practical appeal and feasibility of staying in the state, particularly for older residents, families, and those with chronic health conditions, significantly diminishes, further fueling the cycle of population decline. Wyoming, a state globally renowned for its dramatic landscapes, most famously encompassing a significant portion of Yellowstone National Park and the Grand Teton mountain range, possesses undeniable scenic beauty and a strong connection to the American West. However, despite its natural wonders that attract millions of tourists annually, the state has consistently struggled to retain its resident population, with many choosing to leave. While the appeal of wide-open spaces and low population density is a draw for some, Wyoming's extreme weather conditions, economic limitations outside a few key sectors, and challenges related to its vast geography make it a less than ideal place for year-round living for a significant number of Americans. In 2023, according to recent census data, Wyoming's population experienced another year of decline, losing over 3,000 residents, contributing to a pattern of slow but persistent population loss observed over several years. The winters in Wyoming are notoriously and often brutally harsh. The state experiences heavy snowfalls that can accumulate significantly, frequent and intense blizzards that can lead to road closures and dangerous travel conditions, and prolonged periods of well below freezing temperatures, often exacerbated by strong winds sweeping across the plains and mountains. Many people, particularly those who have not grown up in or become accustomed to such severe and prolonged winter conditions, find the climate simply too extreme and challenging for comfortable, year-round living. For these individuals and families, relocating to a milder state where they can avoid the harshest impacts of winter becomes an obvious and often preferred choice. Job opportunities in Wyoming are notably limited and concentrated primarily within a few key sectors: tourism, largely seasonal, and natural resources, specifically energy extraction, oil, gas, coal, and to a lesser extent, ranching and agriculture. While the energy and ranching industries remain stable employers and provide some high-paying jobs, there are significantly fewer opportunities for high-paying professional positions in rapidly expanding fields like technology, advanced healthcare, services, finance, or diverse corporate sectors compared to states with larger urban centers and more diversified economies. Consequently, many young professionals and college graduates who earn degrees outside of resource management or hospitality find that Wyoming's job market does not offer sufficient career growth or a wide enough array of opportunities to match their aspirations, leading them to leave the state in search of stronger and more diverse job markets elsewhere, often in neighboring states like Colorado or Utah. The state also struggles significantly with healthcare access, a critical issue for residents, particularly those living in its numerous small and remote towns scattered across its vast area. With such a low population density spread over a large geographic expanse, medical facilities are often scarce, and many residents must travel considerable distances, sometimes several hours, to reach hospitals, clinics, or specialists for even routine medical care, let alone specialized treatments or emergency services. This lack of easily accessible healthcare infrastructure makes Wyoming a challenging and often impractical place to live, particularly for families with young children who require regular pediatric care, or for aging residents and retirees who may have more frequent or complex medical needs. While the cost of living in many parts of Wyoming remains relatively low compared to national averages, and the state notably has no state income tax, wage levels outside of specific high demand, roles in the energy sector are often not competitive with those offered in states with more dynamic economies. Without stronger economic incentives, a greater diversity of career advancement opportunities, and improved access to essential services, it is difficult for Wyoming to attract and convince new residents to move in for the long term or persuade its younger population to stay. As a direct result, the state continues to experience a slow but persistent shrinking in population, a trend that is likely to continue without significant investments in infrastructure and deliberate efforts towards economic diversification beyond its traditional resource-based industries. Maine, celebrated for its rugged and stunning coastline, picturesque small towns with a distinct New England character, and vast tracts of forests, might appear to offer an idyllic lifestyle to many. However, beneath this appealing surface, the state is grappling with significant demographic challenges, most notably being one of the fastest aging states in America. With a median age significantly higher than the national average, often cited as around 45 years, Maine faces an ongoing struggle to retain its younger residents, who frequently seek greater educational opportunities, more diverse career options, and potentially a different pace of life elsewhere. According to recent Census Bureau data, Maine experienced a net loss of nearly 6,000 residents in 2023, a figure that reflects a continuation of a trend of slow but steady population decline that has characterized the state for some time. The job market in Maine is a major area of concern for those considering staying or moving to the state. While traditional industries such as tourism, lobster fishing, and forestry remain important staples of the economy and cultural identity, they often do not provide the kind of stable, year-round, high-paying professional jobs that attract and retain college graduates and young professionals in the 21st century economy. The seasonal nature of tourism for many businesses can lead to unpredictable income, and other traditional sectors face their own economic pressures. As a result, many younger workers are making the decision to relocate to larger metropolitan areas with more dynamic economies and a wider array of industries, such as cities like Boston, Massachusetts, or Portland, Oregon, where career growth trajectories are often steeper and salary levels are far more competitive across various professional fields. Maine's climate, particularly its winters, also presents a significant challenge for many potential or current residents. While the state's autumn is famous for its stunning foliage, the winters are notoriously long, cold, and often characterized by heavy snowfall. Temperatures frequently drop below 0 degrees Fahrenheit for extended periods, and annual snow accumulation can exceed 75 inches or even more in some areas, making daily life and transportation difficult for months on end. The severe weather can be physically and mentally grueling for residents. Many people, particularly retirees seeking a more comfortable and less demanding lifestyle after their working years, are choosing to relocate to warmer states with milder climates such as Florida, the Carolinas, or other Sunbelt destinations where they can avoid the harsh realities of a Maine winter. Housing affordability, surprisingly for a state with many rural areas, is also becoming an increasing issue, particularly in desirable coastal regions and areas within commuting distance of major job centers like Portland. While home prices were once relatively low compared to national hotspots, property values have surged significantly in recent years, with some reports indicating increases of nearly 15% or more in a relatively short period. This rapid appreciation, coupled with a limited inventory of available homes, is making it increasingly difficult for younger families and first-time home buyers to afford to purchase property in the state. Rising property taxes, which often accompany increasing property values and are necessary to fund local services in communities with limited tax bases, further add to the financial strain on both prospective and current residents, making other states with lower housing costs or more favorable tax structures more appealing. Healthcare accessibility is another factor contributing to population departures, particularly impacting Maine's sizable aging population and those living in more remote rural parts of the state. Many rural areas suffer from persistent doctor shortages across various specialties, and the closure of numerous rural hospitals and smaller healthcare facilities due to financial difficulties has made it significantly harder for residents in these regions to receive adequate and timely medical care. This lack of accessible medical services is a major deterrent for aging residents who require more frequent healthcare, and for families who prioritize access to good pediatric and general medical care, prompting them to seek states with more robust and evenly distributed healthcare infrastructure. South Dakota, a state often associated with vast, rolling plains, agricultural heartlands, and iconic landmarks like Mount Rushmore and the Badlands, attracts millions of visitors each year drawn to its natural beauty and historical sites. However, despite its appeal as a tourist destination and possessing a relatively strong agricultural economy that forms its economic base, the state is concurrently experiencing a loss of residents, primarily due to limited job prospects outside of its traditional sectors and the undeniable challenges posed by its harsh winter climate. Census data from 2023 specifically showed that South Dakota experienced a net population loss of 5,200 people, indicating that more individuals are moving out than are moving in, contributing to concerns about future demographic trends. Job opportunities in South Dakota are largely concentrated within farming, ranching, and tourism. While cities like Sioux Falls and Rapid City offer a greater degree of economic diversity and some career prospects in finance, healthcare, and retail, the overall landscape for high-paying jobs in rapidly growing industries is limited compared to larger metropolitan areas in neighboring states or across the country. Many industries within South Dakota struggle to provide wage levels that are competitive with those offered in more economically dynamic regions, making it difficult to retain skilled workers. As a direct result, young professionals, college graduates, and those seeking upward economic mobility are frequently leaving the state in pursuit of places with better career growth opportunities and higher earning potential. The climate is another significant and often challenging issue for South Dakota residents. The state's winters are known for being brutally cold, with temperatures routinely dipping well below 0 degrees Fahrenheit and often plunging to -10 degrees or lower for extended periods. These frigid conditions are accompanied by frequent and intense snowstorms that can make travel difficult and disrupt daily life. Many people simply find these harsh and prolonged winter conditions difficult to endure year after year, and the availability of warmer alternatives in other parts of the country becomes a strong incentive for relocation, particularly for those seeking a more comfortable and less climatically demanding lifestyle. Healthcare access remains a growing concern, particularly for residents living in South Dakota's vast and sparsely populated rural areas. Many South Dakotans who reside far from the state's larger urban centers have to travel considerable distances, often across rural landscapes, to find specialized medical care, see specialists, or access certain hospital services. Persistent doctor shortages in rural practices and the financial fragility of smaller local healthcare facilities make it difficult to maintain a reliable and easily accessible healthcare system across the state. This challenge is especially problematic for the state's aging population, who may require more frequent or complex medical attention, making the lack of nearby healthcare a significant factor in decisions to move closer to medical facilities or to states with more extensive healthcare networks. Despite relatively low housing costs in many areas compared to national averages, particularly outside the two main cities, this affordability doesn't always translate directly into desirability for all potential residents. The combination of lower average wages, extreme and challenging weather conditions for several months of the year, and a sense of isolation for those living in remote communities makes South Dakota a less attractive option for many young families and professionals who prioritize factors like diverse job markets, cultural amenities, and accessible services alongside cost of living. Until the state successfully diversifies its economy beyond its traditional agricultural and tourism base and addresses the challenges of healthcare access and climate, population decline will likely persist. Even with its strong sense of community, spirit in many towns, and beautiful natural landscapes, South Dakota continues to see a net outflow of people. a trend that poses long-term challenges for its demographic and economic future without major investments in infrastructure development and strategic efforts towards industry expansion. Montana, often romanticized for its breathtaking mountain views, vast, big sky country landscapes, and abundant opportunities for outdoor recreation ranging from hiking and fishing to skiing and hunting, draws visitors from around the world. However, while its natural beauty is undeniable and a powerful attraction, a significant number of these visitors are not translating into permanent residents, and the state's economy is struggling to generate the opportunities needed to keep pace with the rest of the country and retain its existing population. In 2023, Montana, despite its popular image, experienced a net population loss of nearly 6,500 residents according to recent census figures, indicating that more people are leaving the state than choosing to make it their permanent home. One of the most significant and rapidly worsening issues contributing to Montana's population challenges is the escalating cost of housing. Fueled in part by an influx of remote workers and individuals seeking a change of lifestyle in desirable areas, the median home price in Montana has skyrocketed dramatically in recent years, with some reports indicating an increase of over 20% or more in a relatively short 3-year span. This rapid appreciation has made housing increasingly unaffordable for many long-time residents, young families, and those working in lower-wage sectors of the economy. Rising property taxes, which often accompany these soaring property values and are essential for funding local services, further add to the financial burden, making homeownership or even finding affordable rental options a significant challenge. The lack of affordable housing options, particularly in or near areas with job opportunities, has forced many residents to relocate to states where housing is more accessible and financially feasible. The job market in Montana is another significant weak point when it comes to retaining residents, especially those with professional skills. While tourism, agriculture, and resource extraction, mining, logging, remain foundational economic drivers and provide employment for many, they do not generate a sufficient number of stable, high-paying jobs in the diverse range of industries that characterize more robust state economies. There are limited opportunities in sectors like advanced technology, specialized healthcare fields, finance, or corporate management. Consequently, many college graduates educated in Montana or elsewhere find that the state's job market does not offer the career trajectories or earning potential they seek, leading them to leave for better-paying opportunities in nearby states with larger and more diversified economies, such as Washington, Oregon, or Colorado. Winters in Montana can be unforgiving and pose significant challenges for residents. While the snow is essential for the state's ski industry and provides important water resources, snowfall in some areas, particularly in the mountainous regions, regularly exceeds 100 inches annually. Combined with prolonged periods of freezing, temperatures, often well below zero, and challenging travel conditions, the weather can make daily life difficult for several months of the year. Many individuals and families, particularly retirees, seeking a less physically demanding environment or those simply preferring milder climates, are opting to relocate to states where they do not have to endure such extreme winter conditions and their associated challenges. Infrastructure and healthcare access are also problematic areas contributing to the state's population retention issues, especially in rural and remote areas. Many rural hospitals and smaller clinics across Montana have shut down or are facing significant financial difficulties, forcing residents to travel long distances, often hours, to access specialized medical care or even routine hospital services. The vastness of the state and the low population density make providing comprehensive and accessible public services, including healthcare, education, and maintaining essential infrastructure like roads and bridges, a persistent challenge. The perceived lack of sufficient investment in these public services continues to make Montana a less desirable place for long-term residency for many, particularly families who prioritize access to quality education and health care. Alaska, often referred to as the last frontier, is by far the largest state in the U.S. in terms of land area. A vast expanse of breathtaking wilderness, towering mountains, extensive coastlines, and significant natural resources, most notably oil. Despite its immense size, stunning natural beauty that attracts adventurous spirits, and unique financial incentives like the permanent fund dividend paid annually to residents, Alaska remains one of the least populated states and has been experiencing a consistent outflow of residents, leading to significant population decline in recent years. Census reports indicate that Alaska lost over 5,000 residents in 2023, contributing to a concerning trend of population decrease that has been ongoing for roughly a decade. The exceptionally high cost of living is a major, often prohibitive reason why people are leaving Alaska or choosing not to move there in the first place. Due to its remote geographic location, its reliance on shipping for most goods, and the logistical challenges of operating within the state, everyday necessities such as groceries, heating fuel, gasoline, and even construction materials cost significantly more than in the contiguous 48 states, the lower 48. The price of basic goods can be startlingly high, placing a considerable financial burden on residents. Furthermore, housing costs, particularly in the state's few urban centers, like Anchorage, are notably high. The median home price in Anchorage has surpassed $429,000, making it difficult for many residents, especially those with average incomes, to afford to purchase housing or even find reasonably priced rental properties, exacerbating the financial strain of living in the state. The extreme weather conditions are another undeniable and significant factor that makes life in Alaska challenging and contributes to people leaving. Alaska endures long, dark, and intensely cold winters, particularly in the interior regions where temperatures can plummet as low as -50 degrees Fahrenheit or even colder for extended periods. Heavy snowfall is common, and the limited daylight hours during winter months can be difficult for many people to adapt to, impacting mood and daily routines. While Alaskans are known for their resilience and ability to adapt to these conditions, many people simply find the frigid temperatures, prolonged darkness, and logistical difficulties imposed by the weather too challenging to endure year after year, opting for milder climates elsewhere. Limited job opportunities outside of the state's dominant industries are another major issue for population retention, particularly for a younger, more diverse workforce. While the state offers some relatively high wages in sectors directly tied to oil and gas extraction, fishing, and certain government roles, there are significantly fewer career options in rapidly growing fields like technology, diversified finance, specialized healthcare services, or professional creative industries compared to states with more developed and varied economies. Many younger residents who leave Alaska for college or seek to start careers in these burgeoning sectors find that opportunities to return and utilize their skills are limited, leading them to settle in states with more diverse job markets and greater potential for career advancement outside of the traditional Alaskan economy. Healthcare access is a particularly significant concern in Alaska due to its vast size and scattered population. Many Alaskans live in remote areas and small communities that are not connected by road systems, making access to essential services challenging. There are limited hospitals and specialized medical facilities outside of Anchorage and Fairbanks, forcing residents in remote areas to travel long distances, often requiring expensive and time-consuming flights or boat travel to reach medical care for routine appointments, specialist consultations, or emergencies. This lack of readily accessible healthcare is a major deterrent for families with young children, individuals with chronic health conditions, and especially retirees who anticipate needing more frequent medical attention. Despite its adventurous appeal, unique lifestyle opportunities, and financial incentives like the permanent fund dividend, Alaska continues to struggle significantly with population retention. Without substantial improvements in the affordability of living and deliberate investments in developing infrastructure and diversifying the economy beyond its traditional resource base, the trend of people leaving the state is likely to persist. Nebraska, often perceived as the quintessential heart of the Midwest, characterized by its agricultural productivity, relatively stable economy compared to some states, and a reputation for friendly, down-to-earth residents, might seem like a place where population would hold steady or grow. However, despite having a relatively low unemployment rate that suggests job availability. The state is consistently failing to keep many of its residents from leaving, resulting in a net population loss. According to recent data from the U.S. Census Bureau, Nebraska experienced a net migration loss of over 4,500 people in 2023, meaning more people moved out of the state than moved in, contributing to a pattern of slow population decline. One major, underlying reason for this outward migration, particularly among younger demographics and professionals, is the state's relative lack of urbanization and the perception of limited amenities and opportunities outside of its two main cities. While Omaha and Lincoln are vibrant and growing metropolitan centers offering cultural attractions, dining options, and a more diverse job market, much of Nebraska consists of smaller towns and vast rural areas. These smaller communities, while offering a strong sense of community, often have limited options for entertainment, cultural activities, diverse retail, and professional career paths beyond those directly tied to agriculture or local services. Many young professionals, having experienced life in larger cities during college or early careers, prefer states with more dynamic, diverse, and vibrant urban centers that offer a wider range of social and cultural opportunities, leading them to leave Nebraska. Extreme weather also plays a role in contributing to the exodus for some residents. Nebraska experiences significant seasonal temperature swings, facing brutally cold winters with below-freezing temperatures and challenging weather conditions, followed by scorching hot summers where temperatures can soar, making outdoor activities uncomfortable for extended periods. Furthermore, Nebraska is situated in Tornado Alley and faces a frequent threat of severe thunderstorms and tornadoes, adding an element of weather-related danger and unpredictability that some residents find undesirable and stressful. While housing remains relatively affordable in many parts of Nebraska compared to national averages, particularly outside of Omaha and Lincoln, stagnant wage growth in many sectors makes financial advancement difficult for residents. Many Nebraskans, even those with stable jobs, find that their wages are not keeping pace with the cost of living or the potential earning capacity in other states with more dynamic economies. This disparity creates a financial incentive for residents to leave for states where they can potentially earn more while maintaining a similar or only slightly higher cost of living, thereby improving their ability to save, invest, and achieve financial security. Without more significant wage growth across a broader range of industries, retaining residents, particularly skilled workers, will continue to be a challenge for Nebraska. Healthcare accessibility is another growing issue contributing to population concerns, mirroring challenges faced by many rural states. Rural hospitals and clinics in Nebraska are increasingly facing financial pressures and closures, forcing residents in non-urban areas to drive long distances to access essential medical care, including specialist appointments, diagnostic services, or hospital-based treatment. For families with young children who require regular checkups and vaccinations, and especially for the state's aging populations who often have more frequent and complex healthcare needs, this lack of convenient and accessible medical care is a major drawback and a significant factor influencing decisions about where to live, often leading them to relocate to areas with more robust healthcare infrastructure. Kansas, often recognized for its vast, iconic wheat fields stretching across the plains, its central location in the country, and a classic Midwestern charm embodied in its small towns, has nonetheless been struggling to retain its residents, leading to a steady and concerning decline in population in recent years. Despite offering a relatively low cost of living compared to many parts of the United States, particularly in its rural areas, the state is witnessing a consistent outflow of people, contributing to a net population loss. According to recent data from the U.S. Census Bureau, Kansas experienced a net migration loss of over 6,000 residents in 2023 alone, indicating a continuation of demographic challenges. One major underlying factor behind this population decline is the state's economy and its struggle to diversify and create a sufficient number of high-paying job opportunities outside of its traditional strongholds. While agriculture remains a vital and productive sector, the state has struggled to consistently attract and retain businesses and talent in emerging and high-growth industries like advanced technology, specialized manufacturing, or professional services that offer significant career advancement potential and competitive wages. As a result, many young professionals graduating from college or seeking career changes are leaving Kansas for states with more dynamic and diverse job markets, such as neighboring Colorado, which has a thriving tech scene, or Texas, with its large and varied economy. Kansas is also notorious for experiencing extreme weather conditions, which can be a significant deterrent for many residents. Summers can be blistering hot, with temperatures frequently soaring past 100 degrees Fahrenheit for extended periods, making outdoor activities uncomfortable. Winters can bring icy storms and heavy snowfall, disrupting transportation and daily life. Furthermore, situated squarely in Tornado Alley, the state faces a frequent and significant threat of severe thunderstorms and powerful tornadoes, making Kansas one of the most disaster-prone areas in the country for this type of severe weather. The stress and disruption caused by these recurring extreme weather events can be a factor for residents deciding to relocate to areas with milder or less volatile climates. Entertainment and cultural amenities are also perceived as lacking in comparison to larger metropolitan areas, particularly outside of the state's two largest cities, Kansas City, which straddles the Missouri border, and Wichita. While these urban centers offer museums, theaters, dining, and nightlife options, many towns across the vast majority of Kansas offer more limited choices in terms of cultural attractions, entertainment venues, fine dining, or major public attractions. Younger residents, in particular, often seek more vibrant social scenes, diverse cultural experiences, and a wider array of recreational opportunities than are readily available in many parts of the state, prompting them to relocate to larger cities and states with more developed urban centers. Public services, particularly healthcare and education, have also faced challenges and, in many parts of the state, have been perceived as underfunded or stretched thin. Rural hospitals in Kansas have been closing at an alarming rate due to financial difficulties and declining rural populations, leaving many communities with limited access to essential healthcare services and requiring residents to travel long distances for medical care. Similarly, while some school districts perform well, many public schools, particularly in rural areas, face challenges related to funding, resources, and student performance. Families with school-aged children often prioritize access to quality education and readily available medical care, and the perceived limitations in these areas in many parts of Kansas contribute to decisions to move elsewhere for better schooling and healthcare options for their families. Topping this list of U.S. states experiencing significant population decline is Mississippi, a state deeply rooted in Southern history and culture, known for its literary heritage and blues music traditions. However, despite its rich background, Mississippi has been experiencing one of the highest rates of population loss in the nation, consistently seeing more residents leave than move in, leading to a concerning demographic trend. Recent census reports from 2023 highlight the severity of this issue, showing that the state had a net population loss of over 9,000 people in that year alone, continuing a pattern of significant decline observed over a sustained period. The state's economy stands out as one of the biggest and most persistent challenges facing Mississippi, and is a primary driver of population loss. Mississippi consistently ranks among the states with the lowest median household incomes in the U.S., with figures often cited around $50,500, significantly below the national average. This pervasive economic reality means that financial struggles are a daily challenge for many residents, pushing them to seek better economic opportunities, higher wages, and greater financial stability elsewhere. The state consistently ranks at or near the bottom of various metrics for job growth, wage increases, and overall economic development and dynamism compared to other states, making it difficult for residents to improve their economic standing within the state's borders. Education is another critical area where Mississippi faces significant challenges, contributing to the outflow of families. The state often ranks last or near last in the country for various measures of public education quality, including standardized test scores, graduation rates, and overall school performance. Many public schools in the state suffer from chronic underfunding, inadequate resources, and struggle to provide the quality of education that parents desire for their children's future success. With limited options for quality educational pathways within the state, many families with children are making the difficult decision to relocate to states with stronger, better-funded school systems that they believe will offer their children better opportunities for academic achievement and future success. The state's healthcare system is also widely reported to be in a state of crisis, further impacting the quality of life and contributing to population loss, particularly among vulnerable populations. Mississippi has one of the highest rates of uninsured residents in the country, limiting access to care for a significant portion of its population. Furthermore, many hospitals, particularly in rural areas that serve a large segment of the population, are facing severe financial difficulties and are closing down or reducing services at an alarming rate. This lack of adequate and accessible medical services makes Mississippi an increasingly impractical and concerning place to live, especially for aging residents who require more frequent medical attention and those with chronic health conditions, who need consistent access to healthcare specialists and facilities. Infrastructure across Mississippi is another weak point that hinders economic development and impacts the daily lives of residents. Many roads, bridges, and public utilities throughout the state are in desperate need of repair and modernization, reflecting years of underinvestment. Yet, funding for these critical infrastructure improvements remains insufficient, leading to deteriorating conditions that affect transportation, commerce, and the reliability of essential services. The combination of deteriorating infrastructure, limited new business investments attracted by a less dynamic economy, and persistent challenges in education and healthcare creates a difficult cycle of economic stagnation and reduced quality of life, making it challenging for Mississippi to retain its residents and attract new ones, leading to its unfortunate position at the top of the list for states experiencing population decline. The demographic shifts occurring across these 10 states are not isolated incidents, but rather symptomatic of broader economic, social, and environmental forces at play across the nation. They highlight the challenges faced by states heavily reliant on traditional industries in adapting to a rapidly changing global economy. They underscore the impact of climate change and extreme weather on residential desirability. They reveal the critical importance of accessible healthcare and quality education in retaining populations, particularly in rural areas. And they point to the complex interplay between housing costs, wage levels, and the overall cost of living in determining where people choose to build their lives. These trends present significant challenges for the affected states, requiring strategic thinking and investment to diversify economies, improve infrastructure and services, and enhance overall quality of life in order to reverse or even simply slow the outflow of residents and secure a more stable demographic future.